In the year 400 BC, a Greek doctor wrote one sentence in a medical textbook that nobody could explain for the next 2,400 years. The sentence was this: eunuchs do not become bald. That doctor was Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, and he had noticed something strange. The castrated men guarding the Persian king's harem never lost their hair, not one of them, ever. For over 2,000 years, this was dismissed as a coincidence until 1942, when a Yale anatomist named James Hamilton studied 104 castrated men and proved Hippocrates was right. Then Hamilton did something even more interesting. He took a subset of these men and injected them with testosterone, and only the ones with a family history of baldness started losing their hair. The rest kept it. This is the moment we learned the truth about male pattern baldness. It requires two things, and only two things. 1. Circulating male hormones. 2. A genetic sensitivity to them. Remove either one, and balding stops, or never begins. But the hormone doing the actual damage isn't testosterone, it's a chemical cousin called DHT. In your scalp, an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase converts your normal testosterone into something 3 times more aggressive. DHT then binds to your hair and slowly chokes it. Each growth cycle, the strand comes in a little thinner, a little weaker, until one day it doesn't come in at all. This is why men go bald in a horseshoe pattern. The crown and hairline are loaded with receptors that respond to this hormone. The sides and back, almost none. It's also why hair transplants actually work. Donor hair from the back is genetically immune. This entire mechanism is the reason drugs like finasteride and dutasteride exist today. They don't lower testosterone. They block the enzyme, a pharmaceutical version of what Hippocrates observed in those eunuchs 2,400 years ago. But here's what almost nobody talks about. The ancient Greeks weren't just the ones who discovered the cause of baldness. Their daily habits, the food they ate, the oils they used, the rituals they practiced, accidentally targeted the exact same biological pathway that modern drugs target today. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 Greek secrets, every single one backed by peer-reviewed science, that can slow, stop, and in some cases, reverse male pattern baldness. And no, you don't need to become a eunuch. In 2018, a team of researchers in Rome published a study that should have made headlines around the world. They took 104 men with male pattern baldness and compared them to 108 men with full heads of hair, same age range, same country, same genetics. The only thing they were looking for was this: was there anything different about what these men ate? The answer was yes, and the difference was massive. After controlling for age, weight, education, and even family history of baldness, the single biggest predictor most people think matters, 2 foods stood out. Men who ate raw vegetables 3 or more times a week had 57% lower odds of male pattern baldness. And men who ate fresh herbs regularly, parsley, basil, oregano, the stuff Greeks have been throwing on every plate for 3,000 years, had 56% lower odds. Let me put that in plain English. Eating like a Greek cuts the odds of going bald roughly in half, even when the men were genetically predisposed to lose their hair. This wasn't a magazine article. This was published in Archives of Dermatological Research, a peer-reviewed dermatology journal by a team at one of Rome's leading dermatology institutes. Now, why does this work? Fresh herbs and raw vegetables are loaded with compounds called polyphenols and antioxidants. And follow-up research has confirmed something important. Men with male pattern baldness have higher markers of inflammation and oxidative stress in their bodies than men who keep their hair. A 2024 review in Frontiers in Nutrition showed that balding men score significantly higher on dietary inflammation indexes and lower on antioxidant intake. Hair follicles are not just sitting there waiting for DHT to attack them. They're being weakened from the inside by inflammation. The Mediterranean diet is one of the most potent anti-inflammatory eating patterns ever studied. And here's the contrarian part: most fitness channels won't tell you. The Western diet, refined carbs, sugar, processed seed oils, and fast food do the opposite. It increases insulin, it increases inflammation, it increases the activity of the very enzyme that converts your testosterone into DHT. You can take every supplement in the world, you can rub every oil into your scalp, but if you're eating like the average American man, you're feeding the fire that's burning your hair off. So, here's what to actually do. 3 or more servings of raw vegetables per week, minimum. Salads, raw peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, the way Greeks have been eating for thousands of years. Fresh herbs in your meals, not dried, not powdered. Real parsley, basil, oregano. Throw them on everything. Fatty fish 2 to 3 times a week, sardines, mackerel, anchovies. The same fish Greek fishermen have been pulling out of the Aegean since the time of Homer. And cut the ultra-processed foods, the seed oils, the sugar, the fast food. Every single one of them is pushing your scalp in the wrong direction. This isn't a diet. It's how an entire civilization ate for thousands of years, and it's the same civilization that gave us the first recorded observation about baldness in human history. That's not a coincidence. Now, in 2015, a team of Iranian researchers ran an experiment that the hair loss industry didn't want you to see. They took 100 men with male pattern baldness between the ages of 18 and 49 and split them into 2 groups. The first group was given Minoxidil, the active ingredient in Rogaine, the most prescribed over-the-counter hair loss treatment on the planet. The second group was given rosemary essential oil, a plant that's been growing wild on the hillsides of Greece for thousands of years. Both groups applied their treatment to the scalp twice a day for 6 months. No one knew what the result would be, but when the researchers counted the hairs at the end of the trial, they found something nobody expected. Both groups had grown a statistically significant amount of new hair, and the difference between rosemary oil and Minoxidil? There wasn't one. Statistically, rosemary oil performed just as well as the leading pharmaceutical hair loss drug on the market. But there was one difference. The Minoxidil group reported significantly more scalp itching as a side effect. The rosemary group didn't. This study was published in SkinMed, a peer-reviewed dermatology journal. You can pull it up right now. Panahi 2015. It's real. So how does a plant compete with a pharmaceutical? Rosemary works through 2 mechanisms that science has now mapped out. The first is microcirculation. Rosemary oil dilates the small blood vessels in the scalp, increasing blood flow to the follicles. More blood means more oxygen, more nutrients, and a stronger growth signal. The second is more interesting. Rosemary contains 2 compounds, carnosic acid and ursolic acid, that have been shown in laboratory studies to inhibit the same enzyme that finasteride blocks, the enzyme that turns testosterone into DHT. In other words, rosemary is doing, at a milder level, what the strongest hair loss drugs in the world do. And here's the historical part most people miss. A Greek physician named Dioscorides, writing in the 1st century AD, documented the topical use of rosemary for scalp conditions in his medical text De Materia Medica. That book was the most important pharmacology reference in the Western world. For the next 1,500 years, the Greeks weren't guessing. They were running a 2,000-year experiment, and we're only now catching up to what they figured out. Here's exactly how to use it. You need real rosemary essential oil, not rosemary water, not rosemary scented shampoo. The pure essential oil. You dilute it. Essential oils are too strong to apply directly. The standard ratio is 3 to 5% rosemary oil mixed into a carrier oil. Jojoba works, coconut works, and fittingly, extra virgin olive oil works perfectly. That's roughly 10 to 15 drops of rosemary essential oil per tablespoon of carrier. Massage it into your scalp. Leave it on for at least 30 minutes or overnight if you can, then wash it out. The study used a twice-a-day application. Realistically, once a day is what most men can stick to. Consistency matters more than perfection. Also, one important note. Patch test it first on your inner arm before applying it to your scalp. A small percentage of people have skin sensitivity to essential oils, and you want to find that out on your arm, not on your head. This is the closest thing to a free, natural alternative to Minoxidil that exists. Every gymnasium in ancient Greece, from Athens to Sparta to Olympia, every single man followed the same daily ritual. Before training, they would coat their entire body, including their scalp, in olive oil. After training, they would take a curved bronze tool called a strigil and scrape the oil, sweat, and dust off their skin in firm, repeated strokes. This wasn't just hygiene. The Greeks didn't have soap. The strigil was their bathing technology. Every Olympic athlete, every soldier, every philosopher in Plato's Athens did this. For centuries, historians treated this as a quirky cultural detail, but here's what they missed. The Greeks were giving themselves a daily, vigorous, mechanical scalp treatment, the exact intervention that modern science has now proven grows hair. In 2016, a team of Japanese researchers published a study in the journal Epilepsy that changed how dermatologists think about scalp massage. They took 9 men, applied a standardized scalp massage to one side of their head for just 4 minutes a day, and left the other side untouched. They did this for 24 weeks. At the end of the trial, the massaged side showed an 8% increase in hair shaft thickness. The untouched side, no change. But the more important finding was the why. When the researchers analyzed the cells under the scalp, they discovered something remarkable. The mechanical pressure of the massage was physically stretching the dermal papilla cells, the cells at the base of every hair follicle that control growth. When those cells get stretched, they switch on hair cycle genes. They switch off inflammation genes. The follicle responds to the pressure by getting stronger. Then, in 2019, a much larger study took it further. Researchers surveyed 327 men with male pattern baldness who had been doing daily scalp massages for months. 69% of them reported their hair had stabilized or grown back. This is a survey, not a controlled trial, so the evidence is one tier weaker than the Japanese study. But the signal is strong and the mechanism is real. Here's exactly how to do it. Use your fingertips, not your nails. Press firmly into your scalp, firm enough that you can feel the skin moving over the bone underneath. That movement is the entire point. Work in small circles across your entire scalp. Pay extra attention to the crown and the hairline, the areas most vulnerable to balding. Do this for at least 4 minutes a day. If you can do longer, even better. The 327-man survey found that men who saw improvement averaged about 15 to 20 minutes a day, every day, for several months. This is not a 1-week protocol. The hair cycle is slow. Give it 3 to 6 months minimum. And here's the trick that makes it even more powerful. Combine it with what we already covered. Take your rosemary and olive oil mixture, apply it to your scalp, then do your massage with the oil already on your skin. You're now stacking 3 things at once: the 5-alpha reductase inhibition from rosemary, the growth factor activation from olive oil, and the mechanical stimulation from massage. This is almost exactly what the Greeks were doing every day in the gymnasium 2,500 years ago. That's why the statues we still have of them, 2.5 millennia later, almost all show full heads of hair.